I worry that they've kept too much back, and people have seen that blog post and go, this is removed, this is removed, this is removed, this is removed, this is removed. New UI looks a little bit mobile-ish. I hate it.
I think I've just discovered what I don't like about this. There's no match feel experience. I don't feel like I'm in a match.
And I would much rather have this as the challenges in the game. Like, you're managing this team at international tournament. Go win the tournament.
You know what? I can start doing all these tactics again because I can do them again soon again because it's a different game. So it's going to work completely different.
My arse twitched every single time. I was like, I don't like this at all. I've got to take it off. Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from the pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use the code SHOW20. Summertime, and the trimming is easy. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has got everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Every man knows how scary it is when you get close for a shave below the belt, and that's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas. Okay, now inside the package you're going to find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. The 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next gen skin safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and then a new foil blade for going smooth wherever your heart desires. Plus, they've also got dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3-length setting combs, and did I mention that trim is waterproof? Beach, lake, shower, this razor will devour even the strongest pubes. And now that you've got the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest summer barbecues. The Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant. Once they touch your sack, you will never go back. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the FM Show. I am your host Tony Jameson. Joining me, as always, is the tactical mastermind himself, RDF Tactics, aka Arron Falloon. And Arron, we are not alone. We have ourselves a wonderful guest. He's been on loads of Patreon episodes with us, and he's now making his proper official FM Show public episode debut. Everyone, say hello to the one and only Maggio. How are you, pal? Are you well?
I'm good. So with the Patreon episodes, that's like, you know the people who really get into the youth team and watch they know all the youth team players, they know who's up and coming. That's what the Patreon episodes are. I've done my youth team appearances. I'm Kobe Manu, and now I'm in the main team. Just for 1 week at least.
Mate, people have been talking about you for weeks, going, "Oh my god, have you seen Maggio's like on the Patreons now? Like, it's brilliant." Like, he'll step up to the first team one day, I'm sure of it. And there you are, and now you are. So that's the thing. It's proof, Arron, that we have a pathway, which is what we've been talking about in previous episodes, isn't it? We've got a pathway for guests that make it through the Patreon into the public sphere, and of course, Sai is testament that does happen. Arron, how are you, buddy? Are you well?
Yeah, I've been super duper fine. I don't know. I'm in that moment where when you're trying out tactics, and for some reason everything just works. So yeah, I've been releasing a lot of videos and struggling to keep up, because straight away you release one, it's like there's a request for another one. But at the same time, I'm trying to pace it now as well, because really, like, you enjoy one video and then it's like, oh, another full manager video, like another tactical one again. And yeah, so I'm trying to keep it to like a decent gap, but sometimes I record a video and I can't sit on it. I have to release it. I don't care what time I finish editing. I upload it on YouTube, and I literally schedule it for another day, and I'm like, I'm just uploading this. I can't be arsed.
You've said this before, haven't you? You've been like, I'm releasing a video at 11 o'clock at night, like, because it's good to go.
But I learned from YouTube, like, the views anyway. I don't know. They just stay normal sort of thing. Like if I release at 11, I don't feel that video's lost out, because then the next day it's just like when people wake up or whatever it is, then the video's there on the home screen or whatever it is. Yeah. So,
Do you think it makes less of a difference? Do you like the days of the week, or do you think it's because now you've got an established fan base?
I think some people just it gets to like where YouTube's just a bit weird, and I don't understand the algorithm completely, but sometimes it feels like when the normal people come, then YouTube tend to just push it out to more new viewers. So recently I've done like a video on the Brighton manager, and I didn't think it was popular at all, but because I've been releasing videos, it seems like that momentum's just been keep going.
I think it's all about consistency, isn't it? That's what they say. It's all about being consistent. And it's funny you should mention as well that the time of day change. And obviously, people may know we historically we used to release our videos and audio podcasts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a bit of an old school way of thinking that we came from when we were with the Athletic. We were 4 p.m. But we've recently moved to 12 o'clock at lunchtime, so gives you something to do on your lunch break, which I think works a little bit better for us, Si.
Yeah. Lunch is always. I mean, I don't know where this was going. Where was this going?
Well, no, but the thinking behind it was right, because obviously we had this established sort of like 4 o'clock thing, and I think it came from producer Steve, and I think the idea from that was being that it balanced out with America. In terms of like how the clocks were and stuff. I hadn't fully understood it myself personally, but then the more I started to think about it, I was like, well, hang on. If we're pitching at 4, then you might get the commuter travel, but obviously YouTube has that like that magic hour window where if it picks up your video, it can do some stuff with it. So I thought, well, hang on, YouTubers tend to drop everything at lunchtime, and other podcasts that I listen to, shout out to like Have a Word and Dead Men Talk, they're all like 12 o'clock, bang on the dot, there you go, and it's something to have a watch of or listen to during lunch break. So I thought, could we do the same? And that's where we're at, Arron. That's where we've changed, isn't it?
Because I do feel like, obviously, my individual content and the podcast content is completely different. Whereas, like, my videos can still be watched. Like, if a manager moves, then people, like, when Onslaught moved, people watch my old ones. I'm like, no, I've got to do a new one. But people already watched the old one already anyway. So, yeah, obviously, our content is just a little bit different, sort of thing.
Do you think? Here you go. I'm gonna bring it to Football Manager for you. I'll bring us back on top.
Someone needs to, Arron.
This is why producer Steve's with me here.
There is a job going, Si, if you're interested.
So obviously you have like 12 p.m. kickoffs, 3 p.m. kickoffs, and evening kickoffs. Do you think does it make a difference in game? I don't think it does it? Do you think it makes a difference in real life, or are they just such professionals it doesn't really matter? Because I know myself at 12 o'clock I'm much better at 3 o'clock than I am at 12 o'clock. I'm an afternoon man.
See, that's a good point, because I would like some new feature in Football Manager in the future for that to sort of, like, if you're in a title race or relegation battle and it's like your rivals have played earlier than you and they've won, and it's like the fans are now sort of feeling the pressure, because as an Arsenal fan, in that title race, I did not want to play before, after Manchester City. But then I also didn't want to play before them. So it was just like, I just need it at the same time, sort of thing.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because psychologically, you're right. You don't want to go before or after, because it puts pressure either way.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting, I don't know if Cyrus maybe touched upon this a little bit, but also things like travel. Like, surely if you're travelling further, and I'm not sure how much this actually affects you in game on the players or whatever, but surely travel should take out a little bit of your fitness. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you say you've got, like, because of course the argument always is there's a big European game in midweek and then you've got to play on the weekend. Okay, so you've flown out to the European game, you've played the European game, you've flown back. Now this could be Tuesday or Wednesday if you're Champions League. It's Thursday if you're Europa League or Conference. Okay, then you've obviously got to play early doors on Saturday or late Saturday, early Sunday, late Sunday. Then back into Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, how much travel does that affect on your players and the conditioning? I don't think it seems to be considered greatly, but surely it should.
I think there is a little bit, right? Because you lose out on that training, the training on the next day. You lose out sometimes on a recovery or a rest session, because one slot is used for travel. So I guess you can sort of miss, but then again, I don't know the big difference, because when I tactic test, I'm a little bit of a cheater. I always rest my players in between games anyway, so they're always fit. So because
surely, like, travel to, I don't know, travel to Istanbul is probably going to take more out of you than travel to, even travel to Bournemouth or Brighton or something. It's still going to, yes, the ways you travel is going to be slightly different possibly, but even still, it's a big old journey, isn't it?
I guess it balances out by the sort of personalities you got in your squad. Like if it's a Manchester City, they tend to gonna have just ultimate professionals anyway. So it's just like it's a job. It's a job. They have to fly to Turkey and then they have to play Manchester on the weekend. It's just like, well, that's normal to them. It's what they sign up for, right? They want to play Champions League football and they want to play competitive.
I don't know. I still don't think Jack Grealish is a morning man.
Yeah, I reckon so. I reckon give him the option. He's kicking off at midnight and he's not bothered about 12 o'clock. Sign me up in the morning, Jack. Ooh, don't know about that. I mean, here's the thing then, Si, right? Like, maybe some people might not necessarily think this is a manager's job, but is it possibly part of a manager's job? Travel plans or organisation or where you stay? I mean, we touched upon it briefly in a previous episode when we're talking about international management, about, you go to a tournament, which we'll talk about the tournaments and the Euros as we go through. But surely picking your base would be part of the manager's choice.
Well, there are things. So the famous ones are things like the banning of ketchup, which I think was Capello with England. There was, but even at a more basic level, I think Arsene Wenger was one of the first managers to come in and bring in proper dietary plans for players. I'd imagine most clubs have just followed suit with that now and are on board with dietary plans, and just not letting their players drink and eat whatever they like, although I'm sure some still do. But I guess the manager does have some input in that regard. And, even things like, although you can go crazy, can't you? You can go Felix Magath and ask the players to put cheese under their feet at night. So, yeah. Have you never heard of this one, Arron? I'm sure this is what Felix Magath did at Fulham. Was he at Fulham? He was at Fulham, wasn't he? Very short stint, or Leeds, one of the two.
No wonder why.
He was a bit odd.
I think we discussed something like this on another one of the Patreon episodes, and I think it was with FM Girl Alice, when we're talking about dietary systems with the players, and we're trying to look at whether or not different styles of diets would give you a slight fitness boost or slight fitness decrease, because again, the way you eat is going to fuel you differently and going to generate different performances. There's so many studies that are proven for that to be true. I don't know whether or not that would ever be implemented. Certainly not FM25, whether it be an FM28 or whatever. You've decided to make all your players vegan, and you get the extra fitness gains from this or that. I don't know.
I think so. Something that Sports Interactive are obviously very aware of is that the game has to be fun still. If it adds something, because they've added things over the years and they've realised, and I think, for example, the social media tab is going. That's been announced, right? And I think it's because a lot of people didn't really engage with it, and it was kind of funny when it first came in. But then you get one good response, one bad response, and it's always it's very much a template thing. If it was a bit more wild, maybe it would be more fun, but it doesn't actually enhance your gameplay. And I wonder if they're sort of leaning in the side of all these things, if you have to micromanage them. But the redesign that we've seen so far, I think maybe gives them more of a platform to do this kind of thing, because it's not an email message. It's this like chat WhatsApp message that we've seen in that little screenshot. You can see he's having a chat with the chairman, right? He's having a chat with the chairman via WhatsApp, which I don't know if they actually would do that. They probably would decide on your future via email rather than WhatsApp. Doing it via WhatsApp might get you in trouble with the employment tribunal. But I think there's opportunity there for them to introduce more dynamic conversations and decision making and things like that. Some of the things there are a few games out there that have introduced this kind of thing. I don't know if they'll go completely crazy with them, which is one of the things I'd like to see. I'd like to see way more different stories for people to encounter. Something strange happens, or something, maybe you got a player who's super superstitious. How do you deal with it? And it's going to change the way in which they play across the season. Maybe it changes the way in which they train or the way in which they perform. Maybe you can encourage them in a certain way. Maybe you send them off to a psychologist. You know, a bit like in Ted Lasso, right? You know, I wonder if things like Ted Lasso have sort of like inspired them, that they can make a bit of storytelling out of this and improve what's there. And you get all this stuff, and then it appears in the agenda. And going back to the, you know, the flights, whether the flights make a difference, things like that. You know, now everything. I wonder if things are going to be more time based with that agenda in there. You got to fit things in your agenda in the day. One of the other games, I don't know if we're allowed to mention it. One of the other games is not officially associated anymore, right? In We Are Football, in that everything's done around am I allowed to mention or not?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's no official affiliation anymore. So in We Are Football, it's not inbox based.
We are football.
Yeah.
Who is football? We are football.
I know, it's a very strange game. I think it's a really small studio, but they do some really interesting stuff. It's not as good a game as Football Manager. Right? It doesn't have a proper match engine or anything like that. But I think if you go play it, you get a different experience, because everything's based around your calendar, and your gameplay, instead of managing your inbox, your gameplay is, you've only got so much time in the day. What are you going to do in the day? Like, are you going to go see this player? Are you going to go attend the training session? Are you going to go fly overseas to meet an agent? Are you going to send the players off on a training camp? And are you going to spend time with your family? You know, there's also this weird little person element in there. So, like, these little things build up like little stories. And I think that was kind of interesting. Certainly, I think Sports Interactive, if they did something along that lines, could do a good job of implementing it. I wonder if there's scope for that.
I do like that idea, because on one of the screenshots it does say, with the agenda that's posted on there in what they're now calling the portal rather than the inbox, the screenshot is I believe of the Brentford manager getting a countdown to the amount of time that's left to do something. So 1 hour until a press conference, 7 hours until you confirm the match day squad, 8 hours to attend the match. I guess that's sort of a criticism that I've had, and maybe not said too publicly, I don't think, maybe said a few times on stream. You never feel rushed to do anything on Football Manager. Like, nothing feels like it's ever time sensitive. Even the transfer deadline day, like, it only moves when you hit continue. And surely it should roll through. The idea of transfer deadline day when it was brought in was to create a bit more panic and a bit more, oh my God, I've got to get a player signed now, or I need to get this deal done. But it still only moves when you hit continue. So are we potentially to consider that maybe the game might roll on in the background and time might tick, and therefore some of your decisions are going to have to be made a little bit more on the fly?
Yeah. I was going to say a little earlier.
Real time.
No, not real time, but what I mean is, like, you're not necessarily bound by the continue button. Like, you might have, say, for example, if we think about how it's set out now on the UI, you've got the continue in the top corner. You could potentially have like a little countdown, for example, and it's up to you how you speed the game. You know, you speed the game during the highlights. Yeah, you could maybe have, you know, the game speed, you know, classed as realistic. You could have it as real world, so it's like a full day until you press continue, and you could leave it, or you could have it progressing at regular intervals so that it just rolls through, and then the agenda items then start to really matter because they become time sensitive. Otherwise, it's just another cosmetic feature that doesn't really hit.
I wonder if you could do it via a number of actions. You can maybe you can have, maybe every time you you enter into contract discussions with a player, that's a 10-15 minute interaction. So that takes
oh my God, see, this was this not my feature request? Like, we spoke about like a few episodes. I literally said this, like, because I wanted to say earlier anyway, when you were talking about the cheese under the feet stuff and adding a certain thing, I was going to say, like, obviously different managers are different, like different personalities. Some managers are just, players can do what they want sort of thing, and then other managers are like, you know what, we have to stay. Some managers can have their superstitions. We have to stay at this hotel for whatever reason, whatever. Maybe that's one reason why Football Manager don't want to add or overdo it, because it's not typically a thing that a manager would do, sort of thing, in certain things. And yeah, the other thing I was going to say was, when it comes to that time ticking thing, I'm not sure how it would work in the agenda. Possibly they could just have a real life clock. So if it's 1 hour away, realistically, you're not going to be on that screen for 1 hour anyway. So just having that little ticking down thing can just add some sort of engagement, just make something's happening sort of thing. It doesn't have to actually have an effect, because you're not going to have to. I mean, maybe when you're doing your transfers, you actually will spend that much time, but day by day, you're not really going to if your press conference is in 7 hours, you're not going to be on that screen for 7 hours, sort of thing. But contract thing, like I said, yeah, like you can either just suggest the player whatever he's given, and you can just bypass that, because not every Football Manager player is going to want to have a countdown. But the moment you start negotiating, then there should be some sort of time ticking down. Because that should be testing your negotiation skills, and that should be or playing towards your attributes. And a little earlier, like when you're saying like about players, imagine in training players having a bust up. Like obviously legally, I don't know how Football Manager would do that with real players, but if that was ever a situation in the game, that can actually test your man management attribute in the game, sort of thing, rather than it just being a number and you're not really doing anything. But something like that, where you actually have to manage a situation, and then depending on your personality, whatever the answers are there, is how you deal with that situation.
Okay, let's expand upon that, right? And let's put it into a situation which SI might be able to control, okay? Because obviously they can't have the players' bust-ups. But say, for example, one of your players gets injured or sent off in a match, okay?
Yeah.
There could be something under the hood that maybe the quicker you respond, the more your player trusts you, or the more that it has like some element of sort of like effect on your attributes or your coaching style or the player's confidence or something. You could come out too quickly and say something you've not fully based on the full facts, so you look a bit foolish. Or maybe you could say, look, you know what, I'm going to wait and I'm going to see everything now so that I take all the information in. Wenger, for example, famous, I never saw anything. Like, I'm not going to come and say it straight away. But then you get some managers go straight out, I can't believe this happened, this is ridiculous. And their media personality changes, so like there's a media handling attribute, isn't there, as part of your staffing? So that could be part of it.
Yeah.
And that could be something. So again, I'm not saying that everything has to work in real time or there has to be a countdown, but what I say is you could theoretically have it set to default that it will count down in real time, essentially. No one's ever going to sit for 1 day on the continue screen. But if you wanted to increase it, and therefore increasing some element of jeopardy, or I mean, imagine on stream if you're literally panicking to get a transfer done or panicking to get
I would say transfer
done.
Period.
If you're doing it that way, or even registering a squad, like we know how it's like can be a bit tricky when you're trying to get your squads put in for Europe. But if you've got something that's time sensitive, then it makes you start to really consider those decisions. I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping for too much, Si, but I think there's something in this.
So you could have it where, so the example you gave with the players, and you said if they got an injury or something, like what if they get an injury, right, or they get a red card, and you've got a decision to make after the game. Do you talk to the player first? Do you berate the player? Mm-hmm. Do you have an opportunity to have another chat with the player the next day? Or do you go to the press immediately and say, nah, what he did was unacceptable, you can't play like that? Mm-hmm. Or like with an injury, for example, do you, like, if the player's broken his leg, do you go and see him and speak to him and say, look, you'll be all right? Or like immediately, or do you leave it and then the player's like, oh, my manager doesn't care about me,
Well, there's bits, and maybe it's just part of the flow, but even now, you get an injury in game, you get the press conference that says, what do you think about the player? And then after the press conference, you find out how long he's injured for. Surely you would, well, I guess not always, but logic would say that most of the time you've got a pretty good idea whether this is a serious injury or a bad injury before the press conference happens. Yeah,
a preliminary. Because I think that's another thing, right? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously in real life, they're like, oh, we're waiting to hear back about Harry Kane. Is he out for 3 days or is he out for a month? And he goes for some scans and they have to wait for the report to come back. But immediately they know, yes, it looks like it might be bad. Maybe, your physio might be able to tell you something. We're going to send him for additional scans. Worst case scenario, he could be out for you might need surgery.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if someone's been stretchered off, Arron, you kind of gives you a bit of an indication that it's not he's not out for 3 days with a bruised ankle, but maybe he is.
Yeah, that's a good feature of that.
Are they going to implement the concussion protocol?
How would you do that?
Do they have it? It's not in the game now, is it? You can't make a 6.
That's true, because if you get a head injury, the game has to stop.
Don't think so.
That reminds me of another one. There's one I've never managed to do. Have you ever managed
they,
to have an emergency keeper on loan? Sorry, Tony. Have you ever managed to have an emergency keeper on loan? I have never managed it in game. I've never worked out how you do it.
It's possible, right? I think it is possible.
It is possible. Yeah.
I don't think I've never been in a situation where I've needed it.
Oh, I definitely have.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it. I've definitely seen it once. I think it's only once I've seen it, but it can happen. Like the concussion protocol is an interesting one because I think I'm about to sort of like argue against myself at this point. Like, are they opening themselves up to potential litigation? Whereas in game, a player gets injured anyway, doesn't it? Like, you know, it's possible that, you know, Trent Alexander-Arnold could do his cruciate ligament in my game. That's not Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't going to sue SI going, I can't believe you said my knees are going to collapse at some point. Like in the same way that, you know, a player could get a concussion, they then wouldn't sue SI and go, I can't believe you've brought me off for having a head injury. Like, it probably needs to be put in the game. How they do it, I don't really know.
I think it's just a normal thing, isn't it? Like, it's just an injury sort of thing, but your physio just tells you, like, we have to make a change because concussion. And sort of like you have to make a change anyway during the injury, but again, just adding that sort of realism into the game. Sort of.
So
obviously, you don't want it to be a thing where it just happens every time you play a game or something, but...
So again, it's got to be... The chance of it happening has got to be fairly low.
Yeah, and obviously don't make a big deal out of it. Like, it's just like you have to make a sub in it sort of thing.
Would you then have to monitor that player throughout the course of his career? Because I'm thinking with things like I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Things like WWE and the NFL have got relatively strict concussion protocols. NFL maybe a little bit less so, but you know, like you have a certain amount that you're allowed to have, and then that's it, and then they cut you. Like, I don't know what the situation's like in football as to how detailed it gets at that point.
I don't think there is one at the minute. I know there are calls for it because of the heading situation. There are a few players who ended up getting dementia from heading the ball too often. But I mean, that's not even necessarily concussion or directly concussion. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. You know, let's not,
you know, what are you doing here then?
Yeah, don't phone me up and say yes, it is concussion.
Okay. So looking at what else you've seen then, Si, because it's been a week or so, maybe about 2 weeks now, I reckon, since the blog came out. And I mean, what's the reaction been from your end? Because we've had what I would probably say a mixed bag of responses, I think, towards it.
It's interesting, isn't it? I tell you, a lot of people are thinking that's it. And I think they've missed the point completely. Like, I don't know if SI went about it the right way necessarily with the blog post. I don't know if they are keeping too much back. Maybe there isn't more, but I worry that they've kept too much back, and people have seen that blog post and go, this is removed, this is removed, this is removed, this is removed, this is removed. New UI looks a little bit mobile-ish. I hate it. Right? That's a very easy fuel for some people. And I think, you know, Miles obviously has gone out to justify why certain things have been removed. I think it makes sense. These are things that either A, aren't being used, or B, do need to be redone in a proper way, and can come back better. And he said, you know, I think he said, did he say that the draft would be back, or one of the modes said would be back in midway, right?
The fantasy draft,
drafting comes back, which again is good for us, given, you know, the amount of drafting that we used to do and hosting draft tournaments. Arron, I think Si's just touched upon a really interesting point. The UI, based off 4 screenshots, a lot of people are angry about it. I don't understand why. It's 4 screenshots.
I don't want to pick like, I don't want to feel like I'm attacking people, but it really does bug me. It looks like a console game. It looks like this is just like, it bugs me. And I mentioned it in the Discord, innit? Because to be fair, like, to be honest, like, during like family life, I'm not really that active. Or even like my own Discord, you don't see me active, whatever. Yeah. But then I still get our notifications from the Patreon one. So, and I saw this mobile comment. I was like, no, that's it. I've had enough of this. And I was in the middle of doing something, but I just had to write it back. I was like, look, this comment really bugged me because it doesn't look like what mobile game looks like that. For me, like, because I do like scouting and stuff, so I have like a certain database tool, whatever, and it looks more like that. It looks more like a manager's portal sort of thing as well. And it's just like, but for me, it's like it's a lazy. For me, it seems like people don't exactly know what to say or how to react. So that's just the easy go-to. All right, looks like a console. Looks like it. But does that mean you like it? You don't like it? Like, you want to say it's streamlined, but you just don't know how to react properly. You should say it looks like a console game. Oh, it looks like a mobile game.
You referred to it as a workstation.
Workstation, yes.
That's how you refer to it, and I like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yes, and I remember I showed people as well in the Discord of what my scouting thing looks like, because they mentioned tiles and cards, and I was like, look, even when I click on a player here, I get a little pop-up thing, and then I have the option to view more, or I could just scroll and just see what's on that view there. And that sort of thing, I was like, that's what it looks like. What mobile game does that? What mobile game looks like that or operates like that? None.
Even if it does, why is that a problem? Like, I don't understand this. You know, mobile and console have been moving forward with accessibility. Football Manager's not moved in 30 years, probably.
It's improving.
You know, not much has moved in 30 years. And you've got, and I've said that, like, for the players who've been playing Football Manager for 20 years or 30, Football Manager for 20 years, but Championship Manager before that, you know, even longer. Like, it takes a long time to learn Football Manager. You couldn't go back and learn. I suggest someone go try learn. I don't know, Crusader Kings or something. They're like really hard to get into. In fact, those kind of games have done a lot of work to make themselves a lot more accessible as well, and you know, work on consoles. And like, if new players to Football Manager, it's so inaccessible. I know so many people who'd be interested in Football Manager. Like, you show them the game and they're like, I don't know where I'm clicking, I don't know what I'm doing, this is too slow, there's way too many things going on, like I'm just not going to play it, right? And we know that they have big numbers on console now, which is a more accessible version. We know that they have big numbers on mobile now, which is a more accessible version. It may not be for those of the people who are probably the people listening to this podcast who are likely to be the hardcore fans who've been playing for 20 years, or at least, you know, even if they're a bit younger, they've been playing 4, 5, 6 years and delved into the depth of the game. And you're familiar, you know, maybe you're computer literate, you know how to navigate the menus, you're familiar with working with computer programs. Like, not everyone is like that.
It's weird. So I'm gonna say it's weird because I do find like the people that say these comments, it's not the new people, and I don't think it's the older people or the people that have been playing it for a long time. Like me, I don't think it's us. Like even saying that as well, because a lot of us wanted things to be removed a little bit. Because even for us, like sometimes it could just be overwhelming, or there was too much space in certain screens, and that was always been our thing year to year. That's why we all use skins. Quite literally, sort of thing. But I do find it's like that middle, the in between that. I think there's like an error, I should say, in between that come out with a console comment.
Can I add a thought here then, right? Because, and Si, we'll come back to your point in a second, so you're about to make a really good point, right?
Yeah.
These are, first of all, again, let's just remind everybody, these are, as the screenshots say, work in progress and not from a game build.
I think that's
it
what
might not look like this,
but
everyone's getting themselves all het up, going, "Oh my god, it looks like this, therefore it's going to be awful." It might not look like this.
This is why I agree with Sam about going the right way with the blog post, because then again, even doing that, like we can understand that, but at the same time, that could just add fuel, sort of thing, and it's just like, well, it does feel like you're holding something back, sort of thing, or even just feels like you're just testing the waters. Like you just gave out this screenshot just to check the reaction. If it's good, you keep it. If it's negative, you've got the opportunity to change it and go back and say, well, that we said that wasn't the final sort of thing.
But even still, though, right? Think about this, okay? We're talking about the people who've played for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
When I first started playing Champ Man, it still didn't look as sophisticated as that screen right there. And you know what? I played that for forever, and people still go back and play it now, hence why you can go to an online web browser version and play it. Champ Manager 0102, still not much removed from this. It still doesn't look too different. And Si, your point was perfect, right? About console and PC, they now live together. If I buy GTA 6 on the Xbox, you know, I want it to look the same on Xbox and PC. I don't want it to be two different versions. Like, so why, as SI have obviously looked at that and went, yeah, we're idiots. Why are we making two different games? Like, let's make it the same.
Yeah.
I think there are a few small your kind of customer base for a console is probably slightly different, particularly as they're also putting out on things like Game Pass. So you got people are more likely to just dip in and dip out, and probably shorter play times and things like that than what you get on the real hardcore on PC. But at the same time, it's like okay, and they're playing with a controller. Although I believe keyboard and mouse does work on console, that's got to be the biggest thing, right? But if it works with the keyboard and mouse and it feels more intuitive after you've been playing with it for 2 weeks, right? Let's give it 2 weeks. If it feels more, it's not going to feel intuitive straight away. Everyone's going to hate it straight away because they're not going to be used to it. But give it 2 weeks, and I guarantee it'll feel more intuitive. All right, so your iPhone, you got your iPhone. How many buttons are on that? None. What happened in the mid-2000s? Everyone was like, get a BlackBerry. It's got all the buttons, every button on it, right? Everyone was getting BlackBerries. And then suddenly iPhone comes along and goes, we got one button. Now it's zero.
I got one button. I miss my BlackBerry. I really do.
Partly what I think it could be as well. And I get this. I get this when I look at the screenshots. I think some people might feel that their game is gone. Or the game's gone. but you get like... Maybe they feel that everything just going to feel streamed. Like, it doesn't feel like the in-depth, the niche game that it was and why they fell in love with it. Possibly, because even when I get that screenshot as well, like, I message you as well sometimes, like, I'll just find them little things that bugged me, like, there was too many icons on the calendar bit. And it was just like, because part of, like, being honest, like, part of it just, it doesn't feel like Fortnite. Like, it feels like a different title. Which, pretty much the point, right? That is pretty much their point.
That's the point. It's a brand new game in the franchise, so it has to look different. Okay, we've all got to remember that. It has to look different.
I don't think people mind that. I think because now it looks complete like it's like what you would say the opposite, right? One thing looks like a spreadsheet. Now they flipped it completely, and now it looks like an actual game.
It looks like Web 2.0 now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it looks flat. It looks clean. It looks. Like, what I'm wondering, and Si, maybe you can come in on this one. What I'm wondering, is this the compromise? Because FM players, 10 million of us now, we all love playing the game, but we all want it to run on the most pathetic, slowest PC we can ever get our hands on, right? So you can't have an entire brand new game build that looks like GTA 6 and still run on a 486 PC from 30 years ago. It just doesn't work. So is this the compromise to go, right, if we're going to keep it, and Miles has always been really good about saying he will get Football Manager running on the lowest spec he can possibly do because he understands how expensive computers are and he wants the game to be accessible to as many people as possible. So are we slightly paying the price for this? If this is the thing that people are complaining about and saying it doesn't look like what they want it to look like, is it because of the fact that they have to keep it? They're almost hamstringing themselves to make it run at the lowest possible capability.
That's a good point.
I think so. Unity definitely allows them to do that. Unity lets them run it on mobile or on console, even if they change those versions, which I think they've said they will be different. I think Miles said on Twitter it'll be different. Still, the console will be almost the same as the PC, but they'll have different features. They have that personality thing in there. This year, at least, I don't know what they'll have next year. But the idea is that they'll be slightly different. But at least it allows them to put it on a lower end PC or a lower end laptop or a tablet perhaps, and have the game run relatively similar, because Unity has this build in it which lets them scale it up and down based on what they're putting it on. Something I find interesting about the screenshots, I just opened it up because I remembered about it, is that the aspect ratio of the screenshot that they've given us, which I think is at 4:3 and not at and I think that throws people. I think it's a really subtle thing.
That threw me
because a lot of us are using, probably all of us are using 1080p or 4K monitors, right? Or 1080i, whatever, 1080 and 4K, or at least 720. You're using a 16:9 aspect ratio.
16:9, isn't it?
And that screenshot they've provided, I think that looks on a small screen in 4:3. I don't know why they've done that, but it looks like there's not a lot cramped in And when I play Football Manager, I tend to have a lot more on my screen. And they'll obviously have that. So, you know, when you open the game and you're like, oh, I've got way more tiles that I can, or way more cards that I can fit in. Way more tiles. Yeah, it's tiles, isn't it? Then way more tiles, or getting way more detail
tiles
on the
and then cards. That's right. Yeah.
You know, and then when you're playing on that, if you did only have a Steam Deck, for example, which is a perfect example of where I imagine a lot of people are playing. If you did only have a Steam Deck, because that is a growing market, it shrinks it down. You only get a small amount.
Pinch and scroll. Because we did we say this on last week's episode, Arron, that the UI from that portal page looks like it would be great to have on an iPad.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it would fit really nicely on an iPad screen. And if you can then pinch and scroll and zoom and move things around, like I think that's quite interesting.
I think a Steam Deck is touchscreen, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
What screenshot do you think does it for people? Because I'm now thinking it's the match screen, right? Because I'm looking at the home screen or the manager's home screen, and now I'm comparing it to the FM24, and I'm not sure. Like, there's more information on the FM25 than there is on the FM24. You've literally got a big inbox that takes up the whole screen, and then you've only got the icons on the left. That's it, right? That's all you have.
The portal looks nice. I think
this portal, you have a calendar, you have something on the left, you have something on the right. You've got fixtures, you've got news, you've got so much on that actual one screen. Whereas on FM24, you've literally just got your inbox taking up the whole screen.
I think there's a lot of dead space on it. I wonder if that's part of the thing. And but I also wonder if that's alongside.
I think it's the match screen. I'm looking at the match screen. I think is that what people are saying that looks like a game tab, because that I can agree. Like if you was playing a management game on a tablet or a phone, you can imagine it, or a good game, you would imagine it to look like that sort of thing. Obviously, again, we don't have much because it's not showing us the actual match engine. So,
what do you do when you have the match and you have the tablet? Because they've got that tablet thing. They only introduced that tablet thing a few years ago. How many blocks do you have in the tablet? I got a skin so that I can have like 8 blocks.
Yeah.
I think default. But if you've got a widescreen, I think you can have 6 with if you've got 4K or if you're zoomed out.
Going back to that portal bit though, Si, like you're saying there about there is some dead space on this image. So if we look at this portal again first, and yeah, comparing it to what FM24 looks like, yeah, okay, it's missing a few graphics, like it's missing a splash of colour, maybe for like the home kit of Brighton. It's missing, a big Brighton badge. It's missing some kits. It's missing a picture of the ground.
The player face.
Some faces, a couple of trophies.
Particularly as it's licensed.
I'm starting to think most of this is coming from what I know from the skins that I use. And was it on the vanilla skin? I don't think it was anyway. Like, if it's customizable, then it's going to be great. If it's customizable and you can put all the information you want on there, then brilliant. Do you know what I mean? If it's not, then all right, fair enough. Then people can maybe start to kick off. But if it's customizable, then where's the issue?
I think that's it depends if you can customize. It doesn't look like on, but again, they said that comes from their design files and not from the actual game.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's some. If I wanted to change news out, which I probably would change news out, because I don't care who. Well, actually, it is Brighton, but wait, are we Brentford or are we Brighton? Oh, we're Brighton.
Brighton on the portal, yeah.
But Brentford is the next match.
Brentford's the match, yeah.
I probably don't care about the news as often. Maybe they can make the news so that I will be interested in it. But I'm generally not looking at the news because it will show me stuff about clubs that I don't care who Colchester are buying if I'm Portsmouth. It's probably not the same target as me. And if it is, I'll know about it. So it's like, because it'll come up in the messages, I'm sure. Or like I don't care about the other fixtures necessarily. So I do agree. I'd like to have different things on there, but I don't know what I would put on there. I think the removal of the inbox is bigger than people think.
Yeah. But then again, if that search there, Arron, we touched upon it last week, we're no longer just searching the inbox. This here says search for tiles. So theoretically, all of our inbox stuff will be in there, players will be in there, like clubs will be in there. We think that's what I'm interpreting from that with the tiles. But
tiles could be anything. You could search last 5 matches.
Yeah.
And that's a tile, right? That's from what they've shown above. So if you go, the one above is called last 5 matches. You want to know your form, last 5 matches. That's your tile. Get it on there.
Transfer list could be a tile. Shortlist could be a tile.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. I like this new bit, Arron, here. Portal squad recruitment on the pitch club profile.
Yeah, it's like they've reworded certain things.
Yeah.
There's less options now as well, compared to the icons that was on the left of on FM24 in previous versions. But
we're going to have to start calling you RDF on the pitch now, aren't we? So that's a complete rebrand for you.
My only worry is that if it takes... So I guess one of the questions is, will it take me more clicks or less clicks to get to where I want to get to? And does it feel
surely it
intuitive?
can't take you more clicks than it does right now.
Well, I think...
Surely.
See, that's what worries me. Let's say if I want to get to the transfer list now... Although I do have to go to transfer, and then I have to go to player search, and then I have to go to like the third tab along. So I suppose it is same in that regard. Whereas if I click recruitment now, it might just bring up the tabs. I guess it depends how quick it is as well. If it's speedy, then it might be alright. But
which again could go back to the speed of your laptop or the speed of your computer. Like, you know, if you're on a slower machine, then it might take a bit of time to jug through into getting to the right bits. And I don't know, maybe, like, look, obviously, we're all looking at this. Changes change, you know, sometimes changes for change's sake, sometimes change is needed, right? And in the blog post, Miles and the SI are saying, you know, they're looking at this key sentence here, which is, would we have done this, would we do it the same way if we had our time again? And obviously they're looking at I'm thinking there with things like, we play now almost on autopilot, don't we? We click. We mentioned before, oh, where's such and such? Oh, it's just here, blah, 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 blah. And you do the 42 clicks to get there, and you don't realise you've done 42 clicks. Whereas, yes, we've got to relearn it, and it might take us 40 clicks. But is it going to feel stranger doing it this way now because it's new and because it's different, and we're all having to learn it at once now, so we're all back on a level playing field. There's no experts anymore.
The reaction has been interesting because I feel it's gone two ways. One way is, and I've had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, it's just the same game. It's going to be no update. They just change the skin, and it's the same." And I'm like,
I've had that so many. Oh, the match engine is going to be the same. I'm like, it's literally built like they're building a brand new game from start. It's not the same at all.
I mean, maybe it'll look similar, worst case, but you know, it's not going to be the same match engine. And then the opposite end is, I think people very afraid of, oh, they're going to take everything out. It's going to be very basic. And it's going, and they've literally said they're not. They've said what they've taken out. And if you play regular Football Manager, or you know, a normal save in Football Manager, the only thing they've taken out is the chalk. I didn't know. Did you know how many people didn't know what the chalkboard was? I remember seeing this. I was like, what's the chalkboard? It's probably one of the data screens, I think. So the chalkboard, but the data's all still there. So only the chalkboard elements.
Aaron's still mourning the chalkboard as a touchy subject.
I was fuming straight away.
But the data's still there, right?
But talking about how you, like saying how they put it, like how it comes across to people, that blog post, again, like saying something that is removed or put in a different place, but then not showing where it's been put or whatever. Again, that's what the question marks. Again, that just puts more, it gives you more questions than answers, basically. That's what the blog post has done, is wanting me to ask more questions than it's giving me answers.
I had a great piece from last week's episode, Arron, where, as you know, we talked about the chalkboard, and Doop was like, Tony, quick question. Do you know where the chalkboard is? And I was like, no, of course I don't, right? And obviously all week I've been asked by people on stream going, Tony, where's the chalkboard? I'm like, I've got no idea. Like, I think I found it once by accident.
I don't think it's called chalkboard in the game. I think that's why. I think it's called data, or just called data or something.
One of the analyst reports, isn't it?
Analyst, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why they've called it a chalk. It's probably like some internal thing and they've forgotten that's not what it's called in game. But then like so the chalkboard's one that was removed, the social media tab, which they said no one looked at anyway, and what was the third thing that they've touchline shouts, which I understand. People are annoyed about the removal of touchline shouts, but I also understand why it's been removed, because it didn't work.
I haven't seen that. All the reactions I've seen has been positive to it, or like people have got meme jokes about it, but I don't really see any negative.
I think the touchline shouts is an interesting one, because like maybe you're now going, but now what do I do? Because I know that the touchline shouts didn't really work because they weren't working in time, but you know what's really stupid, right? After the blog post came out and it said that the touchline shouts didn't quite work how we wanted, guess who's still been using touchline shouts on stream? Me. Still going, I'm still going to shout. And I'm like, I've literally been told it doesn't work.
Miles made a tweet about
used it more.
Miles did a tweet about how they actually work, and he said because some people try to call him out saying, oh, it's if it says he basically said something like in a very Miles way. Sorry, Miles. In a very Miles way, he said it doesn't affect morale, right? And then they pulled up the tooltip which says it affects morale. But I think what he meant is it's not affecting morale the way people think it's affecting. It's not making them happy or sad. It's adjusting the way
the touchline shouts I do make a lot of people sad.
You know, in the game engine, it's actually doing something different. Well, maybe it does make them happy or sad, but in the game engine, it's actually doing something different. It's telling them, right, be more aggressive or play in a certain way more. If you're encouraging them, you either push on more.
Okay, see, so back in the days, right, when shouts were first introduced, there was I'm not sure if it was official though, but there was a guideline. And then they sort of changed the wording recently of the shouts. But in my head, I'm still trying to link the two because, like you said, demand more, that doesn't, like, it just makes, back in the day, I think that used to mean, like, tackle harder. So it momentarily gets players to tackle harder.
Get stuck in, essentially.
Yeah, get stuck in and to push forward or whatever, temporarily. It gets people to be more gung-ho and that sort of thing, yeah. So I was wondering though, if that was still the case now. Because I know they kind of reworked their
tweet. If you haven't seen his replies to the thread,
no, I haven't.
Because it kicked off over on Twitter and Reddit, and then Miles had to weigh in with sort of more exactly how it worked without letting on too much. But the answer was something along the lines of, yes, it basically all those buttons you've got on your tactics screen, it's toggling them on for a couple of minutes. So it's toggling on hard tackling.
Yes. But this is what I thought. This is what I knew before. I didn't know if that was still the case now though, because again they changed the wording and then. After that, there was no, like, I haven't seen anywhere on a blog or whatever, like, someone else recreate what these words actually do. But previously, there was definitely something before, that's why I would use it before, but not recently, when they changed the word.
If we go back to the screenshot here where we've got this, the closest thing we've got to match day graphics to look at, right? And again, we've mentioned that's been a source of contention with some people. I think that, you know, there's been no imagery of the match engine or of a game, so that people's expectations haven't been raised from that. Some people are saying their expectations are lowered because they've not seen the match engine yet. All we can see is what looks like, and if I can be very crude about it, it looks like Champman 97 with a little 2D thing, which, don't get me wrong, I love 2D perfectly. I'm more than happy with that. And then the formations and the players listed along the bottom. And you know what? If I saw that for the first time in 2024 and I knew nothing about Football Manager, I probably wouldn't be overly excited about that. I'll be honest, yeah. If I'm completely brand new to the franchise and they go, that's your new game, I'd be like, okay, there's the rest of it.
This is where I really think you've got to consider this screen is taken from the FN25 design, because there are a lot of things that they have to remove because it would either be a feature thing that they want to release later down the line, or because even for an example, match momentum, which they've only introduced last year or 2 years ago, isn't on that screen, which I'm pretty sure should be on that screen. But then again, if they are revamping the data sort of place area as well, I'm guessing that would be introduced later on down the line. But if that 2D pitch can stay on the whole game, I think I would like that. If it it's difficult though, isn't it? Because you don't want to just see a game of back and forth sort of thing.
Okay.
But I want to be able to be like, to see the actual momentum sort of thing.
I think it might be under that match
more
stats,
in their half.
Where it says match stats or match events, you can see there's little toggles you can toggle through.
Let's consider this then, Aaron, right? As I said before, the iPad flashes up in the middle of your game. Okay? Would it be cool if that is what's on the iPad? So while the game's going on, you see the game in 2D, but it's sped up because, of course, it's in time with whatever your game speed is toggled. So you are seeing stuff, because there is potentially a question of when you have no highlights and the game's just chugging on in the background, you're not seeing anything.
I think this
How
is
do
the
you know
iPad
what to react
now.
to?
This is now the iPad.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Oh, so this is the iPad. This is not. So this is going to be a. Right. Okay.
So there's no iPad. It doesn't have. Instead of the iPad popping up, you have this. Whenever there's not a highlight, you have all of this on the screen.
Well, in that case, what I've just said is absolutely perfect, and they should definitely keep with it.
But there was a lot more stuff on the iPad. I think I don't know how much. Again, because it's such a small screenshot, I think there's those of us with larger screens, which is probably most of us, are going to fit more on our screen. I think that's probably like a Steam Deck size screen. But it's like the match events. You've lost. You used to have match stats, and then underneath you had all the match events, right? And where they're sort of positioned. But that might just be I've got to get used to it, or I apply a skin if I can apply a skin to it.
Actually, yeah, you're right. I'm just going back over the blog post here. Finally, I want to share one more screen that shows off the potential of the new tile and card system. This is the new screen you'll see between your match highlights. So yeah, that's exactly what we just said there. More information on how it all works will follow during our gameplay rollout in September. So
I think it's making better in the game, because I don't think I'm tactically aware of what my team are doing between highlights. And especially
this is why I said that I would like that, but at the same time now, this is what I think I've just discovered what I don't like about this. There's no match feel experience. I don't feel like I'm in a match. Like, based off that screen, if it's gonna look like that, where it's literally blue in the background, whereas before the match was in the background, like the green, the actual engine was in the background. So and the fans were there, so you always felt like you was there.
Maybe it will be.
Imagine that screen with noise on. Like, it would be jarring, sort of thing. Like, it doesn't feel real. Before, you felt in the match, and your tablet was there in the match, and in the background, obviously the game weren't playing, where that could be the difference. But
and also, people play with the sound off if it's on a laptop. They don't have the sound on.
But just that just doesn't feel match. I'm in a match. That's what feels like a mobile. If I'm gonna be, that feels more like a mobile game rather than a PC game, sort of thing.
Maybe they will add it, Arron. Maybe because it's only the design screen and they don't really want to show off the in-game engine.
Yeah, that's what I was
stuff.
saying earlier. This is the part where you've really got to consider this screen is taken from the FM25 design. But yeah, just that's the feedback that I'll give that screen, just based on that. That doesn't feel like a match. I'm in a match. It just feels like I'm on TV. That feels like more like Sky Sports, like I'm watching TV, Sky Sports thing, sort of thing. That's what it feels like. Score center.
Could you imagine if this is ridiculous, this is going to sound ridiculous. Imagine if it was first person, right? You're sat in the dugout, right? And you're like looking down at your iPad, and every time there's a highlight, your like little character looks up and watches the highlight on the pitch. When the highlight's over,
don't, right? Because, and this is like, right, I'm aware I'm old, right, okay, and I'm out of touch, and I was going to mention this at the start of the show, this weekend, I took the kids to Power Up in Manchester. If you haven't been, by the way, go to Power Up in Manchester. It's amazing. A proper like video game set up. It's like open weekends and school holidays. Loads of video games from like back from when I was born all the way up to modern day. Loads of cool stuff in there. Go and try it out. Okay, big shout for Power Up. I tried VR for the first time. Right, and what you're saying, Si, I don't want it, okay, because it scares me. I don't know what the game was, but I put the VR headset on and it had this little robot thing waddling about on girders that were in the clouds, right? And for someone who is scared of heights, the idea of that, and I'm looking around and I can see everything. The technology is amazing, right? But when I kept jumping off onto this girder and missing it, my arse twitched every single time. I was like, I don't like this at all. I'm going to take it off.
I don't think you have to
I literally felt uneasy I felt uneasy playing it. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to keep moving because I feel as though I'm going to die.
Yeah.
But like when you go to your bench, you look across to your bench and they're all waving at you. Get me on, get me on.
I don't want to have to like physically run off my sofa to pick the ball up to recycle it to get the throw in going again. I don't need that.
If you want, you can run up to the assistant ref, get right in his face, shout at him.
Oh, download the UFC pack where you can start arguing and fighting the others.
No, I don't think they would ever go that. That would require them to have all the licenses and put all the player faces in.
Well, they're getting them. In a sense, they're getting them. I mean, again, I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit too far. I don't want to see someone try an overhead kick in their own house because they've got a VR headset on. They're playing FIFA or whatever. You
can imagine some players will just get way too weird with it as well. You know, that's.
Like they'd put their actual suit on as well to make sure that they look proper in the VR. Like just sitting there going,
Oh no,
it's too
VR
snug.
is sweaty work. You don't want to be wearing a suit while doing VR.
Very quickly, while the show's on, have you remembered, if this is YouTube, to hit like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave us a nice little comment as well, because that really helps everything out. Makes the algorithm pick us up, puts us in front of more eyes. That would be great. Gives us a bit of conversation to go with as well. Obviously, if you're on Spotify, just subscribe on Spotify, leave us a little review, leave some comments on that as well, and join the Discord. Come and get in the Discord. Come and have some conversation. That's where it all happens. There's loads of people having some great stuff in there. We can talk tactics, we can talk game modes, we can talk player searches, we can talk real football, we can talk anything over in the Discord. So all those links in the description below. Basically, it helps us. It really helps us get the show in front of the most eyes possible. So if you can do all those things, that would be awesome. It'd be much appreciated. But yeah, back to the show. Let's bring it back to real reality, not virtual reality, actual reality. Because, of course, at time of recording, we should say, the Euros are still on, believe it or not. England are still boring their way into the semi-finals. So well done, England. You've really captured the mood of the nation. We're all having a fantastic time. Si is busy trying to win the Euros with every nation.
Yeah.
In your current stream save. How's it going, Si?
It's going okay. I did not think I'd be managed to do it, but it's gone. So I did try this 2 years ago with the World Cup, which didn't go well. I tried every country when I did the World Cup, and I won with none of them until the very final day. When I did one with 32 other humans, and I won with England, so that was all right. This time it's gone a bit better. I've 5 down. See, I wonder if you could guess the 5. I think you know, Tony, but Arron, I'll see if you can guess the 5. Which 5 do you think I might have won with? I've tried nearly every nation. I haven't tried Slovakia or Slovenia. I think those are the
I
only
want to
two
go
I've not
England
done
because
yet.
they're a bit of a rip on the game.
England, I have reached the final 3 times of my 4 attempts, and I've lost on penalties in 2 of them, and lost in regular extra time on the other.
See, I didn't know because I was gonna say either England or France. I would say one of them you've definitely won the World Cup, but one of them you might have missed. And I think France. I thought you can say
France,
have
I've
you
won with France. I did win.
Okay,
with, yeah.
it had to be one of the two. Them two on internationals.
Yeah, England, I just keep getting to the final and falling at the final. I had this thing where I got to the final with Germany and lost to England on penalties, got to the final with England and lost to Germany on penalties. So yeah, but then I got to the final again with Germany and I beat Scotland, so it was okay.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say, yeah, France, Germany.
Yeah, so France and Germany are in there. The other 3 are maybe more surprising, so we have...
Yeah, I'm trying to... Poland?
I've not won with Poland, no. Poland
Turkey.
were hard, actually. I've won with Turkey. I won with Turkey. Yeah,
wow.
Turkey. The other two are probably good teams, but they're not.
You won with
favourites.
Scotland, surely.
I haven't won with, actually Scotland. I haven't tried Scotland yet. Scotland is the other one I've not.
And they're currently in Euros, right?
Well, they're out. Both
out,
of them.
but this
both of them have just gone out.
Oh, John. So that's not Croatia then?
Portugal.
Yeah,
still in,
Portugal.
aren't
No,
they?
Portugal out.
Portugal.
out.
It is Portugal, one of them,
Portugal. Mm-hmm.
and the other one went out at this round of 16. So Belgium was the other one. So those are the 5 countries I won with.
Belgium
Turkey. Like I cannot win with England, and I cannot win with Spain. I've reached the final with both of them so many times. Like Spain the
I
other
can imagine
day.
issues with Spain.
Spain, I beat England in the semi-final 4-0, and I thought, oh, we're on for a roll. Who we got in the final? Ukraine. All right, okay, we'll win this. Nope. And then I got to the final. I'd already lost one wing back, and then I lost another wing back 10 minutes into the match, and then I lost the other 2 wing backs the other side, like halfway through the match. So I was like, my tactic, which relies on wing backs, I am now wing backless. And I went down to a goal, like a 1 goal from Ukraine from their 1 chance, and I got FM'd, and I was like, well, that's so typical. So yeah, and then I had to go with Ukraine, and we did all right with them, but it was like, so I can't win with Spain, and I can't win with England. And I can't win with Italy. Italy I've also had a final with, and I lose the final every time. The worst thing is, because every time I fail, I restart. So if I have a long run and I get to the final, and I'm like, well, I've got less time to like just start another attempt now. Whereas like if I just have a short run and it just falls at the first hurdle, it doesn't really matter because I just like, oh, we'll go again. There's only 3 games. We'll just start again. So yeah, it's going okay.
Who's been the most enjoyable?
Turkey was fun because we beat England 4-0 in the semi and Spain 3-0 in the final. And I was coming up against them thinking, we're in trouble. So yeah, Turkey was definitely a lot of fun and unexpected. And I think I enjoyed Belgium because that was the first one. I think that was the first one I won with, and I didn't expect to do it. And it was the night after. The night after I just lost, we did that big Euros that Zealand put on, and I got the Netherlands in that. Actually, I've not given the Netherlands a proper go yet, and I knocked Spain out. Steve Hood had not Spain. I knocked Belgium out. Steve Hood had Belgium, but yeah, Belgium was a lot of fun. I think they got some capable players. Having Lukaku and Openda up top together, it worked quite nicely.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lukaku in that game.
Yeah.
Was that retribution though? Because your stream save at the start of the year was Build a Nation Belgium.
Oh yes, that too.
And then you had a slight falling out with the Belgians, didn't you?
Well, I got a team.
One club in
the
Belgium in particular. I should say,
this is a theme. I get a team to the top tier, and I got them. I finished them second in the league, right in the top tier. They were in Champions League, first ever time in Champions League, and I lost. Like the start of the season was a bit dodgy. I brought in a lot of youngsters to try, build for the future, because I thought, right, we've got to push. This is Build a Nation. We've got to start thinking about a Champions League team in now. So I went and raided South America and other places, brought all these youngsters in, and would start trying and sold like one or two older players who were like probably past it, but I could get money for. But it took a little bit of time to bed them in, and like 10 games in, they just sacked me out of nowhere, and I was like, we weren't bottom of the table. We were within 8 points of top. But we'd fallen, enough behind. If it was Eric Ten Hag, I'd still be there now. It's like if it was a better situation than he's in, and they sacked me, and I just thought, after everything I've done for this basically an amateur team, it starts out as, and I was only a few seasons in. And do you know the funny thing? It was bad for me as well because they sacked me. Guess what? They won the league that year. So the gap wasn't even that insurmountable.
Justifiable. You can't
I know, right?
Justifiable.
So it's like I sort of said the points aren't that far. We're not that far behind. They didn't even give me an opportunity to be like, oh, give me a month to make up to it. Like after everything I'd done, got them into the Champions League for the first time. I think it was and I had this with Havant Waterlooville, which I did last year. I got Havant Waterlooville to the Premier League, to the Europa League, I think. And then the following season, I was back down in the relegation zone, and they sacked me. And I was like, this is a non-league team. I've got to the Premier League, and you're not even willing to give me like one season where things aren't quite going to plan. And it's really weird that they sack me, and then I'm like, I'm getting job offers from Real Madrid. Like,
It's very different to how it works in my game universe, because at Larissa, despite winning the league and now being like an established Champions League side, my board still expect me to finish in the top half of the league. That's all they expect. Like we've had a title.
Well, that's the problem.
Finish in the top half, lads. That'll be it. And then last year, I got 4 points away from the title, and they went, "Oh, we thought you were going to challenge." 4 points.
Yeah,
4 points away. That's all it was. Apparently, that's not a challenge.
But you need to watch out, because the minute that they up it and they say, if you do too well, you win the title, next year they'll want challenge for title, and if you drop back down to mid-table, you're gone. And it's like, but I put us in that position to even challenge for the title. Why are you sacking me? I had the last laugh because I went away for half a season, came back with Anderlecht the next year, and beat them on the final day of the season to win the league. So I was like, never mind. Shouldn't have sacked me.
Mental story.
Yeah, I got my revenge. I was with a bigger club then, with an actual transfer budget as well, which was kind of nice. But yeah,
I did want to ask though, what is it about international football, like managing in Football Manager? Like, what is it you do like about it? Because we always say how Football Manager can improve, so maybe we can hear some bit of goodness about international management.
It's rubbish. So here's the thing, right?
There you have it, folks.
and this is a problem. Well, the things they're removing next year is the challenges. But one of the
we should all relax and have an iron blue.
If you go to the WhatsApp, you go to the message to me and Tony, I was like, sounds good, because he could tell us what he actually enjoys about FM24 international management, because we always slack it off.
Well, the thing is, the things I have to do to the game to make it enjoyable, right? I have to put it on. If you play for international management in a long-term game, it's not enjoyable because you spend so long between the matches doing absolutely nothing. Actually, there is a good feature that they added, I think, this year, which is you can go to next squad selection. in the holiday button.
Yeah.
But you're still,
go on holiday, yeah,
you're
it's
still
vital.
waiting
That's
around
vital.
for ages and doing nothing, and it's like, and there's because they don't have any licenses or anything, there's no spectacle around the tournaments. Whereas if you go Champions League, now you got Champions League draw. Hopefully next year, now they've got this arrangement with
You got
FIFA,
the World Cup?
the World Cup would be good.
Yeah, surely that has to be then.
Maybe that's when they'll add it back in. A World
that'd
Cup
be good.
license. I imagine it's separate licenses and they don't get it at all. And imagine they have to go to the FIFA World Cup.
No, but it has to be because it has to be in the game that they have. They're not just going to do it.
No, because I think
just
at
that
the
tournament.
FIFA for eFootball tournaments, whatever they call it.
Isn't
no,
it FM24
eFootball's-
in it?
It's
World
going to be an
Cup's not in FM24, is it?
Yeah, it's FM20. Actually, yeah, they're doing it in
What?
FM24, the first one, I think.
Oh, so there might actually have to be an asset there.
I don't think they can, and I don't think they can. What they're going to do with like Germany or whatever, I don't know what they'll do. But
Well,
no,
in the
'cause
Netherlands.
it's in draft mode anyway, so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. But because it's like FIFA when they do FIFA and people go with their ultimate teams to the World Cup, and I don't think they're not officially licensed, and I think they have Pro Evo there as well, or eFootball, or whatever it is. So I think there's a separation of the licenses and the the esports side of FIFA. Which is a shame. They should just be able to like package it up at one. But FIFA want lots of money for their license.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that they could improve. But one of the things I do is I obviously set up the game in a way where I'm starting now on May 15th, which requires a workaround bug almost. Like it's the real date fix, and I've got in the real fixture fix as well, and a couple other fixes, and I have to load in loads of players. So I've basically set up myself a database combining other people's databases and a couple of tweaks myself to set a certain start date, which is like right before the tournament. I could do the squad selection, and then I just play the matches. So I've had to go out my way to set up like a scenario where I can just play the Euros, select my manager, and run and play through it and make my own squad selection. And I would much rather have this as the challenge is in the game. Like you're managing this team at international tournament, go win the tournament, right? That's your challenge. Like I know they have like the relegation, what Saviour Cometh, whatever they call it, the relegation challenge or the injury crisis challenge or the money challenge that they have in the console mode. They removed them from the PC mode a few years ago. Actually, they dropped it to touch version only, and then they removed it entirely.
Yeah.
But you can play them on the console version on PC, which sounds like a weird workaround. But those challenge modes, I think that's what they could do with them. I think they could introduce things like
I do think, yeah.
a Champions. Imagine you're playing as Man United, but you only have to play your Champions League matches. Just a challenge. It's just a scenario, right? Or
Yeah.
you know,
I think I don't know. Maybe the imagination from even like Foot Manager players back then wasn't what it would be now, because obviously the content creation around things. I could imagine challenges banging or just being good YouTube videos, especially because
Yes.
it's short form. You know what I mean? For
100%.
So I could imagine that rebuilds and that would be great, sort of thing.
Well, that's
But
what a
also just
rebuild
like-
is. I
even on
want
Twi-
something
yeah, literally.
I can jump
Quite
in
literally.
3-4 hours and be
And
done.
you're in the scenario already, yeah.
Which I like, and I noticed. So I taking it from like a content creator's point of view and a streaming point of view. My Southampton beta was really popular a couple of seasons, and something happened every season. I got promoted to Champions League.
Yeah.
Right, and then I went and did the Belgian Build Nation. It's worked well for Tony. It didn't work well for me. I think people weren't familiar with Belgium. I don't stream every night of the week, or most nights of the week I don't stream, or I play other games. I dip in and out. People didn't necessarily get on board with it. I was starting way down in the lower leagues in Belgium. No one knows anyone there. It's a bit of a slog. And I wasn't invested in it after at the start. I was at the end, but at the start, I'd just been playing with Southampton with this team of wonder kids in the champ, and we just won the Champions League final, and it was a bit of a come down to go back to the non-leagues in Belgium. So I wasn't fully invested in it. It was a slow save that eventually I get. It's still there. Maybe I'll go back to it. But and then as soon as I've gone to my Euros as a content creator perspective, people are invested again, because every night, it doesn't matter that they missed last night. It doesn't matter that they missed last Tuesday. It doesn't matter where they came in. People are coming in and are like, how are you getting on? How many teams have you won with? And I've got a screen, I bring it up and I say, I've won with this many teams. We're trying this team right now. And people are going, oh, you need to pick this player. Oh, you try this tactic. And I'm like, no, I'm choosing my own. But it's like, people are getting more, and they'll come in and they'll talk about the Euros and stuff naturally anyway. But I think the idea that it's a short challenge and people can contribute to it when they come in and talk to me about it. And I think if you did that, like, imagine we all tried that challenge. We could try it. We could sit at home and be like, oh, let's do the Manchester United Champions League challenge, right? Tonight. It's going to take 3 to 4 hours. And we all try it and we're like, Arron, how did you get on the Manchester United Champions League challenge? Like, I know you guys have got in the Discord the monthly challenge.
I was going to say, that's we could just literally cheat the community challenge.
Like, well, it's the way of doing it, though, isn't it? Because like we've said, like, the reason we held off with the community challenge for so long was because you've got to invest in it. Like, you've got to put the time in to do it. Whereas if it's something that's short term, like, I love the idea. Like, I always love those bottom of Christmas challenges, where you take whoever's bottom of the league Christmas Day, and you've got to keep them up. And that's a brilliant little challenge to get yourself in there. It's fantastic. Like, love it. You could do exactly the same with, with trying to get someone promoted. Like, take the team who's bottom of the top half of the table, Christmas Day, and right, your job is to get promoted. Can you do it? Yeah. Like,
because it's like, if things like that. Like, I tried that you're talking about creating scenarios and stuff, and it's just like, again, like the community challenge, right? We've got to hope that our viewers have an imagination, and we're taking a club that hasn't won anything or whatever, but in the game, that's not translating. You're just playing with that in your head rather than that's the actual case in the game. But I've tried that thing, right? I did it with Everton. I remember saying that I took over Everton and then tried to save them from relegation, and it was like, but I need that scenario should be in the game where, because you joined the club and their morale was down, that should have such a huge effect. Because I came into Everton, right, thinking, oh, iffy first few games, and like, you win the first 2, and it's just like, the challenge was done in 5 games. Like, I had 1 episode because we won the first 5 games. I've just come in, we've just created this odd tactic, and we just won the first the 4 or 5 games, whatever. And it's just like, well, I'm almost also got to lose on purpose, sort of thing. Yeah, I've almost got to take my foot off the gas, and it wasn't like a crazy tactic or one that I've pushed. We've literally just created a tactic. I've got that on my Patreon. It's a bonus episode where I'm literally just creating a tactic on the spot, and it's just like, it's a weird, funky one as well. And it was like, you win the first 5 games. It's like, well, the challenge is sort of deleted now, because they had the points deduction. That's as well. They had the points deduction. It was like, that doesn't even like that doesn't feel like it's translated in the game. The morale wasn't down, and it didn't feel like it was in trouble or anything. It's just, he played the game and that's it.
I think one thing that FM's been lacking for a number of years, and it's something that we fill the blanks in ourselves, like not just us as creators, but like anyone who plays the game, we fill the blanks in ourselves, is the immersion aspect of when you achieve something, it doesn't feel like you've achieved it. Like, there should be, like, Si, you said there, Hammond Waterlooville getting to the Premier League. That should feel like a massive moment in the game. Like, getting to Europe should feel massive. Knocking on the door. Like, for me with Larissa, we've won. It was 49 years since they last won the title in real life. That should feel huge. Thankfully, we played it out to make it feel like a big moment, but the game doesn't treat it like a big moment. There's no way for you to differentiate between winning a league with Larissa after 49 years of waiting as to winning the league with Manchester City for the 10th year in a row. Like, there's just nothing there. Like, or winning the treble for the first time. You have to create that yourself. And I don't know how SI put that into the game. Like, because that's what they do. If they can get that in, then you're talking next level.
I think I know how. It's. I mean, I know how. I don't know the technical side of the implementation, but it goes into, so where you've got your pre-game editor, you have a thing called, you just have a part of it that's called scenario editor, and you create a scenario, and you put in a condition for the scenario. For your case, it would be Larissa win the league, and you can add in the flavor text. So a different video game. There's a game called Hitman. which some of you, everyone knows Hitman. I don't know. There's a game. It's called Hitman. There's Hitman, right?
Even I've heard of that.
Hitman, right? And in Hitman, they have a thing called challenges, right? I think it was challenges, scenarios. Challenges. Scenarios are like the main missions. So every map in the game is set up and it has like certain targets. Okay, you can translate that to Football Manager, right? Every league and it's got targets, right? But you can go into the challenge mode and you can create contracts they're called. You can create your own challenges. So you could make it so that you have to kill these 3 random people on the map, or not random, but you choose them, with these particular items, in these particular costumes, in this particular time, without being seen, without changing costume, without, you can add in win conditions or lose conditions. And if they could just have a scenario editor for something like that, so all you got to do is just choose the team, right? The team for the player is Larissa. What are the win conditions? The win condition is win the Champions League within 5 years, right? What are the restrictions? You can only sign Greek players, right? And it's just I don't know how hard it is for managers to implement this, but it can't be. They could, if it's there. I'm sure you can implement it as sort of rules or anything. And then it just goes off on the Steam Workshop or on a screen that's called Challenges, community challenges, that's literally how other games do it.
Yeah, I think it needs to be, for all it's own universe, it still feels very restrictive. Like, I guess, again, the same with something like a GTA. You go and talk to someone, you've got your main mission, but you go and talk to someone and they're happening in that world as well. There's non-playable characters. It affects something else, or you learn something else about it. Like, if they can implement that in FM as well, where you have these conversations with these non-playable characters and they are adding something to the game, or maybe they send you off in a different direction, and it does have this sort of like, we keep referring to it as like the ultimate RPG game. Let's make it the ultimate RPG game. Let's add more layers to this. And if you want it to be there, use it. If you don't, it's still going to run as a base level game anyway. Like, give us the extra content for those that are desperate for those extra little storylines, those extra little plot points, making the game a little bit more than just, sitting through and watching the game unfold, Arron.
Yeah. It's difficult though, isn't it? Because you don't know their complete aim. Like, what is their aim for a game? Is it to go down that route, or is it just to be the best football managing simulation game? And
I guess with 10 million people, then they're doing something right. Let's be honest, they're doing something right. You've got 10 million players now. For all the people have complained about FM23, some people have complained about FM24, some people are complaining about FM25 and what it looks like based off 4 screenshots. The number and player base is going through the roof. So I'm sorry, the numbers don't add up to the people who are complaining to the numbers of people who are playing the game.
I think
maybe I'm looking at this too simplistically.
I mean, do you think if you're a new player, you come in and see, it is free on all these Game Pass or whatever. If I came into the game and it was like, what team do you support? Birmingham. Here's some community challenges around Birmingham City. Go and complete. Why don't you try one of these first for your first thing? This one's an easy rated community challenge for Birmingham City. We'll tie the tutorial in.
I'll tell you where there is a try before you buy, Si. Our Patreon. There's a try before you buy. Yeah, we've got a little 7-day free trial of our Patreon. Get yourself on that, try it out, and if you like it, then sign up for £3 a month, right? But the reason I mentioned that, though, is the episode that's just come out on Patreon with Triple M, who is an esports broadcaster based in South Africa. He is a brand new player to FM. He picked the game up in FM 21, and I was like, seriously, you've only just started. Like, how do you look at this game now? I've known it for 30 years. I couldn't imagine coming in brand new. And you're saying there, Si, little challenges, that'd be brilliant for a brand new player.
You don't want to. It's crazy because you don't know what you're going to invest in this game if you don't know if you like it. Like, you're not going to embark on a 30-season save in a game that you might not actually like, you might not enjoy, which is probably true with Football Manager. There are people who are very passionate, but it's definitely a turn off for a lot of people when they look at it and they go, I can't shoot with the player. I can't move him around. I can't do the gritty with him.
You have that as an idea as well. I don't know, maybe you've said this yourself, but every single time, no matter what streamers I'm watching, and I've done it myself as well, because I literally don't have any other answer. When someone says, how do you play the game or whatever, and it's always the same answer, just pick the team you support, because at least that way you know the players and that sort of thing, and you get, like what you said, your introduction to the game, right? And I think Do I mention FIFA? Like, remember when you first open up the game, you first get it, what team do you support? Straight away,
Yeah.
what team? And then the game is sort of tailored to that. So when you go to kickoff, straight away it's Arsenal versus Tottenham sort of thing. And that's quite engaging. Like, if I'm playing FIFA for the first time, I really need to win this first game because it's against Tottenham. And maybe that's the sort of thing that could be in the Football Manager. Like, when you've just got the game, if you need that run through, it's just start a new game with Birmingham City, and then here's your sort of in-game assistant helping you guide through things. But
I suppose
that
as
way
well,
you just don't, you're not lost with tactics because you're like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with Birmingham's 4-2-3-1. I'm familiar with this player playing in this role.
I think with that as well, we always get the question of not just, like, who shall I, like, it's always like, oh, who shall I manage? Who shall I manage on my game? I don't know. Like, how do you want to play the game? That should be something that should be potentially in the game somewhere. And I don't know where they put it, and maybe it's part of the challenge, or maybe it feels more console-y for some people, but there should be a kind of like, and I guess it's maybe already in there really, in the sense of, there are people who just want 3 years. There are people who want a 5-year challenge, a 10-year challenge, a 30-year challenge. You're probably sitting there with these little customizable bits in the editor. Give yourself that countdown. Like, give yourself something to play for and play towards, and reward you for getting it done. And I guess it goes back to that thing. There is no reward in this game.
The manager timeline was probably like a sort of attempt.
The thing is, I said that earlier, and I was like, damn, what is that thing called, man? Because I've never used the timeline. Like, maybe when it first came, then I started seeing, like, I don't know if it's issues or bugs, but, like, things being repeated, and it's just like, well, after you've seen it once, you don't really need to see it again, because after it can actually quite annoy you, just seeing, like, oh, yeah, the golden boy, oh, yeah, the golden boy, oh, you found the golden boy, and it's just, like, the same thing year after year sort of thing, so I think that was supposed to come in and trying to enhance that experience, but again, like, in a game where they're trying to just simulate football, how do they, like, is their priority to then try and make these things a lot more engaging, where it's like not like a GTA, but moving towards that sort of vibe? It's very difficult, I'm guessing, because even down, like, maybe they want to concentrate there, but then they've got the tactics and how that plays out in the match engine, and it seems like the match engine is very important as well. And it down to the customers. Like, it's difficult. It is difficult. But in my head, like, I think they're so fixed on making the best football simulation game. And I think all these interaction things are sort of second. And it has to make sense, and it has to tie in and that sort of thing.
So they collect all this data, and they're always going, these are the most transferred players, these are the most...
Yeah.
They have all this data. They know exactly who is winning what with where.
Yeah.
So all that data is going into the game. Like, why is it, like, when I'm loading up a game, tell me this is how people averagely do with this team. Tell me, only 1% of people have won the Premier League with Luton in the first season. I want to give that one a go. Why not put that in there? Like, as a
community facts, in it.
Yeah, that's it. Right?
Oh, okay.
Just write that down. Send that. Community.
I know they collect this data. They know how many times each team has won the Premier League and won the Champions League.
I wouldn't be that. I would hate it though if it was transferred. Like, I wouldn't want that. I would like, this player's been signed.
Oh no, you don't have to say the transfer.
Yeah, ones. I don't want that. Because then
just when you're setting up your game.
Yeah, on the game
picking a team, when you're picking up the team,
and it gives you a little bit of a, like, say you've been to a league you've never managed before or whatever. It gives you an idea of who's doing well. Yeah, I quite like that.
Because you get the high score at the end of the season. It's just some nonsense.
You get leaderboard in it, but it doesn't really tell you anything.
Like, what? I don't even know how that high score is calculated. But it's like, instead, tell me, you've just done something that the 0.001% of Football Manager players have done. Like, maybe it's like, I mean, my example, trying to win the Euros, right? How many people have won the Euros with Turkey in the game? Maybe 0. So I'll be like, okay, right, I've done that. No, no one else has done that. Or maybe it says how many players have won with every team. Probably no one, because it would be impossible with Scotland. But
what do you mean impossible with Scotland?
They did get to the final once in mine. I beat them with Germany.
Yeah. Think you'll find on Rebuilding a Nation we will be world champions at some point. Don't know when, but we'll try and work that out. So yeah, we'll get there eventually. I guess it is that thing, and it's just nice little bits and pieces. But I guess the thing is, we're still months and months and months away from anything. So all we can do is still just continue to speculate. We don't know.
Do you know? We're not months away from it. September is only about 7 weeks away.
Oh, for the next time we know something, but the game's not going to come out till God knows when. If we're using a rule of thumb, roughly, it's usually November. But if it's still a lot of work to be done, it could roll to December. We don't know that. Of course, we're just going to speculate and work off what's previously been. But even then, we're in the start of July now. It's still a few months, and we've got content to make, Si. So every week this is going to be speculation until we get a little bit more.
you get a next. Well, that's what I'm about. Like challenges. Challenges could be anything. Next week, okay, it's Euro. This week's they could even do a themed one. They could set up their own, right? This week it's the Euros. Next week maybe they probably can't license it, but next week it's transfer window challenge. You have to make £100 million in the transfer window buying and selling players. Like, just do weird stuff. It's like I did once. I was like, I wonder how many goals I can score in a single game, and that took me one stream. That's one stream. How what team do I have to pick? What opposition do I have to do? Let's assume that I'm not allowed to I'll play with the pre-game editor or anything like that. So I think I went PSG because they have a cup game that's really early on against it couldn't be a friendly, so I was like, yeah, PSG, they'll have a cup game early on against a weak opposition, and I'll just throw everything at it. And I won 30-0, and I was like, could anyone beat that? That's kind of interesting.
It's true.
It doesn't take that long, but it's I don't know where they, if you got to fill the space between now and September, would you start a new save at this stage, Tony? You're close to winning the Champions League, I'd imagine, with Larissa.
No, I'm not close to winning the Champions League at this point. I've been in the Champions League. We've been out of the group stages. Well, there isn't a group stage anymore, is there? It all changed. It's a Swiss setup now. It's a good point. It's a good question, because there was part of me with that whole Rebuild a Nation Scotland thing. That's come out of me already starting to plan next year's save, and I'm not done with Larissa yet because I'm doing it on stream. I'd imagine if I was doing it on my own, just my off stream save, then yeah, I probably would have started a new save now. But I think it's a difficult. Here's my thought. Right, here's where I think people get into this sort of this quote unquote mid-cycle lull and start to look for new challenges. I think it ties in with the end of the European seasons, and I think because football finishes at that point in Europe, that it's then all new transfers, and everyone starts going, oh, I want new transfers, I want new shiny things, and then people go, bored of this game now, bring me a new game, please, thank you.
Quite literally me. It gets to this point where I'm like, game's a bit old now. It feels old
because it starts halfway through the season, doesn't it?
Updates, yeah, but now I've got transfer updates. I use I need those things are so important to me. I can't play now the Premier League with Burnley in it. It just doesn't make sense in my head, especially to the content that I'm making as well, because I'm doing these managers that are now moving to clubs and stuff, so it needs to be updated anyway, just for to fill in the content. But yeah, and I can see if that's how people view things a little bit.
I think to answer your question, Si, starting a new save now, no, is my answer, because. And I can't remember where I've said this. I've definitely said this on stream. I may have said it on the podcast. I find season 1 of a new save the most boring and tiresome thing in the world. I hate season 1 of any save.
Season 1s, man.
No, I hate it.
Season 1s are the ones.
I tell you what you should do. You should pair up. Arron does the first season, and then he hands all his saves over because he never completes it after one season. He's moved on to the next save already.
It's season 2 and season 3 for me. That's just that.
Give me season 5. That's the one I'm into. Season 1's boring.
Yeah, when you get season 5 and season 6, that's when things start heating up again.
Season 1 is basically, for me, right, there's too much that can go wrong in season 1, right? I've spent so much time thinking about the team I'm going to manage, and then I get put into the position where I'm like, right, well, now I've got to try and make this work, because I've convinced myself this is going to happen. And I've then got to try and work out the tactic, try and understand the team, because clearly I've picked a team that I know nothing about as well. And I've got to try and understand all that. And then I've got to try and do it on stream and entertain people at the same time. Whereas usually, by the time 5 seasons in, we've worked out that it's going to be disappointing.
Like, if I could have an agreement and understanding with my viewers that every time I open up a stream it's a new save, I would absolutely love that. Like, I love that bit where you don't know and you're trying to work things out, and I love the first sometimes as well. Like, when I'm in that manager mode, if I'm creating tactics, obviously, no, but when I'm in that manager mode, I love the first day responsibility sometimes of quickly sacking some coaches and
I love sacking people. Check out Elon Musk over here.
I was going to say.
that new buzz, like, you just feels like you're doing stuff, like you're buzzing about places, you're going in different screens. Where it gets a bit boring is when everything's set up already, and then that's where season 2, season 3, especially in those saves as well, like Sparta Rotterdam, and then you sort of win the season in season 3. And then you've got these long periods where you're not good enough in Europe, but you're just battering the Eredivisie. That's the drag. But it does bring me to, I wanted to say this earlier, but I forgot, like, starting a save where it is just region and Nugents, because that way, Football Manager, obviously not by default, you would obviously select that option, but that way they can have, like, player bus-ups and that stuff, because you don't have to worry about the legal action and that sort of thing. So
you can do it with the start save with no real players, can't you?
But aren't they cheating? Isn't it just real players with different names? Yeah, different names and ages and countries. Yeah, that kind of annoyed me a little bit, because not annoyed me because I wanted to do. So I remember View from the Touchdown. I think he recommended it to do like a data save. So, like, to start off, obviously you already know the players and stuff, so you have a general idea if that player's good or not. So you don't literally have to rely on the data. But he did have that thing where it's like, oh yeah, just use the data and then not real players, and then obviously you're not signing players that you know. But then when I was going through it, I was like, it ended up being a game where I was just going through clubs. I was like, that's Saka. Yeah, that's. Oh yeah, that must. Oh, is that Rashford or Sancho?
I mean, asking the question there then, Si, about starting a new game, is it something that you've considered at this point of the cycle? Because you're now, like, obviously you're now technically 2 saves in, really. Are you think they're starting a third after the Euros is over? Or if not, what are you going to do?
So that was I've been thinking about this because, the Euros finishes this weekend. I'm going to join the Euros, and now I'm in this dilemma. I'm like, the interest is going to drop after the Euros in the Euros. So can I still do it for another? I could probably hold on for another week or two, maybe. But beyond that, I'm definitely going to have to start something else. If the Copa America was afterwards, I probably would have done that. But the Copa America, I think the final might be next Sunday for the Copa America as well, representing Colombia today. They're playing exciting football. But I think actually what I'm going to do is sort of what I hinted at, which is like, I'm going to go and I'm going to try and do mini challenges. But I'm going to try and change it up. Maybe I'll do one challenge a week. And then, for that week, we try and do that challenge, see how we get on. Next week is a new challenge. But the problem is that requires a lot more prep on my end, because I've got to set up databases and, make sure everything works, and like make sure it's something that's actually doable or fun. Because not all of them, some of them sound like they'd be fun, and then when you go and try them out, they're not. So it's like, well,
I have that all the time.
Yeah, what do I do? Like, what? Okay, so one of the things I was doing before, and I've stopped for a little bit now because I've been doing the other things. I was doing 30-minute rebuilds. So if you've ever seen like Luke's content, or Luke, a lot of people do rebuilds on YouTube. But they give themselves a amount of time and then they sim the season. So I thought, I'm going to take that, but I'm going to add like a time element to it. So I've got 30 minutes real time. This goes back to your real-time thing earlier. Real-time to, I have to, analyze my team, make the signings. I can continue as much as I like in the game, but, and I can play matches if I really want, but that's a waste of my time. So I've got 30 minutes to try and change the team as much as possible, set up a tactic, and then at the 30 minutes mark, I stop, and I holiday for the rest of the season, and we see what happens. And it's kind of fun, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. One of the problems I had was because of the pressure, I ended up signing someone who was, let's say, not someone I would want to sign normally. And I
for some odd reason, I just get one name just came straight.
It's not the Premier League one, but it's it's one of the players in one of the many players in the French leagues. But because I was going so quickly, I was like, I just completely forgot. It's hard to keep up
on
to
their
be
content.
honest.
Yeah.
You forget.
I saw someone doing on their content, like they generally just like obviously must have just went out of their head, and there's like people like. Just quickly going into the comments like messages is like, oh snap, that could be crazy, yeah.
But I feel like that kind of thing, that in that one I obviously added a time element to myself, and that was a short part of a stream, and then I was turning it into content for the YouTube channel. Weirdly it just worked for some teams and didn't for others. Everyone cared about Ajax and no one cared about, I don't know who it was, Schalke or someone. West Ham I think no one cared about, which I thought would go the other way around. But it's like,
yeah.
I thought I'd try that because it's like a little bit of a spin on what other people are doing anyway. People are interested in these rebuilds. People like the rebuilds. It's short, and it's that playing Football Manager in short chunks. I can move on. Next week I'm doing something different. I don't know how many of them I could do because I start recognizing the same players, and I'm like, I know I can pick up him for cheap. I know I can get him. He'll come into my team. He'll
to make a rule, isn't it? Like, I'm actually could still this idea, but
that's what I started doing.
Yeah, like, and then obviously before in your video, the intro, you'll be like, you can't sign this person, that player. These players are ticked off.
Yeah. The other problem I think is you're leaving up a lot up to chance and luck when you go on holiday. And I'm not a tactical mastermind like some of these guys.
Well, maybe that's the fun of it, though.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the fun of it.
It was fun, and it was interesting to see what happened at the end of the season. Some of them turned out a lot better than expected, and some of them turned out a lot worse than expected. And but I'm always scared, and this has been my problem with the Euros as well. I just always default to a similar tactic every time, and sometimes I'll sit and I'll try and make an alternative tactic. Actually, I did do a short-term save. I'm on my 4th save this season. I did the retro database with Portsmouth.
Yes,
I forgot I did it. I did it for about a month, and we went unbeaten with Portsmouth for the first half of the season, and then it fell apart. I don't know what happened, but it was like we still did really well. We still finished 3rd or 2nd or 3rd. But I'm like, just short things like that. I'll find something for in a couple of weeks' time. I've got a few ideas, and maybe I'll do them for 2-3 weeks, a month, onto another one up until the next game.
I was trying to think of ways of mixing up Larissa, to be honest, and sort of how to keep a bit of interest going in that. Because what I do think is interesting, what I do think is difficult, is because obviously we're doing these games on stream, and you're jumping in 15, 16 seasons into a save, like you're brand new to going, well, what's going on now? Like, how do I sort of keep up with all this? A bit like, some of the argument, I suppose, for Let's Plays on YouTube, like, when do you join in at episode 105? Like, you've missed everything, like, well, how can you catch up? Sort of thing. And I was just trying to work out, like, ways to just sort of keep a bit of interest on that save, and I started to think about, like, moneyballing it, and maybe looking at data side of stuff, and then like dip my toes into Musterman's skin, and then going, I don't know anywhere near enough of this, and then like coming straight back out, and then being like, well, hang on, like maybe I'll sort of like move from the SAS skin to like the WTCS skin, and that's got some pizza wheels in there, and I can play along with that. And like, that's probably, if I was going to do something new in this sort of like window between FM24 and FM25, I would try and do data stuff, because I'm aware I started the Blythe Spartans save on YouTube when FM24 first came out, and people have asked about that, but I just didn't connect with it. Just didn't connect with this save. Like, I don't know whether it's because I've done it before, or whether because I was having so much fun with Larissa that I just sort of like wasn't really in the headspace to be sort of going back through the lower leagues of England again. And did I want to go through it? Like, maybe I have to keep it going on in the background, but maybe we'll do that. But yeah, I think the data stuff would be something that I'd really like to try my hand at. But then, Arron, potentially, I'm learning all this stuff, and it might not make any difference in FM25 because I've got to learn a brand new game again. So why am I learning it now?
So that's what as well. When FM25 got announced, sort of like that recent update, that's how I was like, you know what, I can start doing all these tactics again, because I can do them again soon again, because it's a different game, so it's going to work completely different. So yeah, now I can do my Pep Guardiolas and Arteta. Because I remember saying that before. I was like, oh, where do I go? Like, I can't. You know what I mean? The tactics screen looks the same and as it did last year, and sometimes it can get a bit difficult. But yeah, now I've got somewhere to go. My next Arteta, and I might should release 3 Pep Guardiolas, because for some reason it just seems like nobody cares if you've done it before. As long as it says Pep Guardiola, I'm watching and I'm downloading. It is so weird, man. I just put new Pep Guardiola and it's like, yes! I'm like, shit.
What? People wanting a tactic that just wins all the time? Surely not, Arron. Not in the Football Manager space.
That's the thing. Those Man City ones don't. Like, if like the way my content works, and I think some people have got that point now, is like, you would actually prefer to watch a Brighton one, because if the Brighton tactic did well, there's more of a chance it's going to work universally. Whereas if it done really well at Manchester City, it's likely because the quality of those players just carried the tactic rather than the tactic being that great. Like, let's be real, not many teams can pull off a 3-2-5 or whatever it is as the starting formation. Like, straight away you just get burnt by the wing backs. If you're Luton, it's just never going to work at all. But if you're Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne's corners and free kicks and stuff is just going to carry you throughout the season.
Personal responsibility, Si.
It's a problem I've had with my this Euros thing. You know, I'll turn up to Romania and I'm like, Romania haven't got any left backs. Or England haven't got any left. No, because I can pick which. Romania haven't got any left backs.
Scotland got no strikers.
Yeah, right. So then what do I? Well, so I'll give you. There's some good examples, right? I can't plug and play the same tactic because France don't really have any playmakers outside of Antoine Griezmann. Like, they've got a lot of very quick players, they've got a lot of very good players, but they don't have any playmakers. You switch to Spain or Italy, they've got a million playmakers,
specialists,
and no striker. I mean, they've got Morata, or they've got
almost like one size doesn't fit all, isn't it? It's almost like that.
You know, England's got a really nice mix, actually.
That's why England is so powerful.
Yeah, that's why I think England tend to do well. But you end up telling these, you know, a lot of teams, they've got 2 strikers, one short quick man and one tall target man, and that's it, right? You're like, you got Wout Weghorst, so you got Memphis Depay, and you're like, all right, okay, what do I do with these 2? I mean, it's the Peter Crouch, Michael Owen scenario. You're very ham-fisted into what kind of tactics you can play with them, and I this is, you know, there's not really a killer tactic you can download and apply across everything, because it just won't work, especially in international football. I guess in the club game you can buy. That's the other thing. That's the other thing I quite like about the international, is you can't just go and be like, oh, we haven't got any quick left backs, let's go buy one. Like, no, there are no quick Romanian left backs.
That's one thing I've noticed by managing Greece on the Build a Nation, is, like, I said this to Arron a couple of weeks ago, trying to work out how to instill a tactical style on a nation like that by going, like, these are the only players I've got. Like, just sort of look at Brazilian players who are in Greece going, do you want to be Greek? Do you want to be Greek? Because you'd really be able to help me out right now.
The Qatar strategy. Because
at the minute I haven't really got a tactic.
So really,
but you would definitely make this tactic work better.
Okay, maybe not. But I was gonna say, really, you guys can kind of sympathize with Southgate then, like, kind of understanding how.
I've been backing Southgate as a non-England fan. I've been backing Southgate for ages. They've never had it as good, Arron.
But even
semi-finals, quarter-finals, semi-finals.
Yeah, even down to the squad selection. For me, it's the football that people are not liking, and it's down to, really, it's like the player profiles are like, Southgate can't do much if Bellingham wants to come deep to get the ball, and then Foden wants to come deep to get the ball, and Harry Kane wants to get, like, those are the profiles of players that are there, and they're the best England players.
Yeah,
and
it's tough.
It's difficult, right? Because then he doesn't drop. If he drops Kane because, oh, you're all doing too much, blah blah blah, I'm gonna listen to people. Kane's declining, so I'm gonna drop him. Play Watkins, get knocked out. Everyone's asking, where was Kane?
Kane's one of the best players in the world. I had people telling me this week that Kane's not a world-class player, and I'm like, no, Kane's a world-class player.
International football, and I do it myself as well, like, you've just got to remember, it's just a different beast, man. It's not the same. And I get that, like, if you've played football, I've played Sunday League, you know this. Like, you play Sunday League, and it's completely different to when the summer comes and you're playing in a tournament. Like, with all these other people, like, the pressure is completely different. You go into every game now nervous, we've got to win this game, or all right, just don't lose the first game. That is so different. So you can only imagine how it is And really, who watches? There's like one or two teams you can pick out and say, right, they clearly are playing some entertaining football.
Well,
But
this is
it-
what
you
Bielsa
don't-
was
So
saying.
those teams have been knocked out now, though, haven't they?
There's that.
Bielsa was saying like
There's
football's
that.
dead, all right?
He's right, though. He's
And then
right.
did you watch if you watch Uruguay play last night with like 200 fouls and like with just about as many passes as they made fouls, and it's like, yeah, Bielsa normally plays entertaining football, but it's like, well, he's got exactly the same thing. He's got this probably aging, brutish Uruguayan team. I mean, that's the profile of the Uruguayan players who absolutely bullied Endrick. Endrick had one touch the whole game, which was the kickoff.
Yeah.
Like-
Go, man.
That's football. Like, Endrick is this quality skill player. Easy, just bully him off the ball, right? You know, it's
Yeah,
not.
it's different, isn't it?
But it's the way that the world's changed, isn't it? Like, I mean, again, we've spoken about this before, that football's just too... It feels too clinical now, and there's... Players have had their creativity coached out of them, and it's like, don't take a risk, because if you do take a risk, then if it doesn't come off, then, you know, we're going to lose possession and we're going to lose field advantage, and it's just like, oh god, it's so dull and boring.
Well, that's-
like just sling a ball into the box and see what happens. Like, do you know what I mean?
There's a reason why Raheem Sterling's not in the England team anymore, despite probably being our best player at the last two tournaments. You know, he's very creative, and he'd get around two or three players, and he'd make a go at it, and he'd out on the left hand side and cut inside and dribble between the players. But then the end product, he'd lose the ball at the end. Either he'd get something away, or he'd lose the ball. And because he lost the ball more often than not, and we lost possession, he's not in the England team. Well, there's probably other reasons he's not in the England team, but it's like people didn't like him. Some people thought he was terrible the last two times. Well, no, he was probably our most creative and best player. You take him out the team, England isn't going to create those kind of chances. And look what's happened. I mean, you're relying on Phil Foden to do it. We're getting into real football here. Maybe we need to divert away. I've just caught myself.
No.
talking about real football.
It's never strictly FM, to be honest, and it doesn't.
It's true though, isn't it? Like these players that are creative, they don't necessarily have the opportunity to do it. Like, you know, Foden. If he loses the ball for England when England is playing possession-based football, it's a problem. Like the point of England is like one of the things a lot of people said, and they say, oh, Holland's going to smash England, and the other day people were saying Switzerland's going to smash England. Like Switzerland, I think had one shot from inside the box, which was the goal. And people say, oh, Spain, if it's Spain will smash England. Maybe they will. Do you know, like Spain's last 61 goals have been from inside the box. They haven't had a long-range shot. Most of the goals that England have conceded in the last, 20 games, particularly the ones that have mattered, have been long-range. So if you think back, like the last World Cup, the long Camavinga goal, and then, since then, the Denmark game was a long-range goal. Like a lot of them. I think the Slovakia one was on a break, wasn't it? But like most of the goals, or a disproportionate number of the goals, not most of them, have been long range shots. So you couldn't say that when England are back, like, so Spain will put pressure on the box and like have lots of players outside the box. When England have been up against it, it's not fun to watch as a fan of that team. It's very nerve wracking because you're like, this team could score at any moment. They could get through. They're going to get a goal, and it's probably the same for teams facing England. But it's like, I'm not saying England is as good as Spain at getting the ball around and doing that. Yeah. But it's like England are actually really good at defending against that, getting those players regimented to prevent the ball getting into the box and conceding that way. So if Spain would even get through against England, it would be like, people just seem to think, oh, Spain are playing free-flowing attacking football, they would smash England. And like, no, England like defensively right now is pretty solid. We are conceding stupid goals and we are on the back foot a little bit too much and we are a bit too negative, but it's like, it's not fun to watch. And I think people are conflating the two. Not fun to watch and not being successful are different things. Greece 2004 are not fun to watch.
It's been like Pep Guardiola, right, at Manchester City. Now it's a bit opposite, but people just like his football it can be boring to watch because it's quite defensive, and it just sounds so crazy that someone will say that, but possession football, for most part of it, is quite defensive, and a lot of the aim of it is the opponents don't have the ball, so they can't score. That's something that obviously is so you can score goals as well, but it's just, and maybe that's partly why some people think it's boring because the structure and the system has become like there's such an emphasis on that now and within the game. But it's just so that teams can be more successful. They can concede less goals and that, because again, like those teams other than Real Madrid, you would probably say aren't super structured in any sort of way. But other than that, like those teams end up to be pretty successful. A bit like Arsenal. Like Arsenal might be a little bit I don't know if I'm biased, just a little bit more entertaining than Manchester City. But as an Arsenal fan, I know how good and how brilliant our defence is, and it's just because of the structure that we have within it now. I don't know. I would like to see more flair in Ronaldinho and Neymar within the game, but I wouldn't. Now that I'm used to seeing what I'm seeing, I don't think I want to see that at Arsenal. I want to carry on with us doing what I'm doing. I'm quite happy with I was structured.
You win,
no, then you're going to get to the stage that you're going to get to the West Ham stage though, where you win a European Cup and then all the fans go, but it was boring. Get rid of the manager because it's boring. Go, you've never had it as good as you've ever had it.
If
England, the same thing with England.
Right now,
England are at the situation where they're in two semi-finals, a quarter-final, a final, and they're complaining that it's boring. Honestly, like history says, they've never had it as good.
I mean, people are saying, "Oh, they haven't had any real opposition." Like they said it. They said it after the Serbia game. Oh, wait till they see Denmark. Or I had someone on Twitter telling me yesterday, "Oh, they've not faced any real decent team." And I'm like, "What? It's just like completely like." Denmark and Switzerland aren't San Marino. But like they're good players. Yeah. Christian Eriksen was like one of the best players in the world. We've got players in the Switzerland team who are some of the best in the world. They haven't got the star power of England.
Scotland held them.
They did, yeah, they did.
I don't know, it's crazy. I also think it would play into England's hands more if they had to play the elite teams more.
If they played a more attacking team, I think it would. I remember when we played France in the last World Cup, England, I know we lost, but England were the better team in that match, and it took a pretty lucky long-range shot, and the Giroud header.
Yeah, I think if England had a France earlier, like in the knockouts, and then managed to get through it, and now I think they've just got a bigger chance of actually winning it.
Yeah, I must admit, I am starting to think there's an inevitability about this. It's just going to be a case of they'll win and they'll celebrate like the Brazil 1970.
Yeah, but people are going to be so sour about it. They're already sour about it. They're sour that England are even in the semi-final with this negative.
As I say, yeah, the fans make me not enjoy it. The fans make me not enjoy Euros. It's a bit like, so I avoided the whole social media during the England game only because Mbolo scored. And I was like, because in my head I was like, was it the Eurovision that I had him for Switzerland? But I was like, no one's going to know that on Twitter sort of thing. So I was like, Mbolo, and then Saka equalised, and the first thing I saw was, Cole Palmer came on and England scored straight away. No coincidence. I'm like, you're literally point scoring. Your player played no assist. He didn't even touch the ball.
We've recorded during two England games during the Euros. And I must admit, I'm seeing a lot less flag shaggers this year. So I don't know whether that ties in or not. But
people are just sick of it.
But I tell you what, I think that's probably a good time to leave it. So leave it hanging there, because obviously this will come out, and then presumably the Euros will finish fairly close after
Are you putting this out before Wednesday? I want to know if this is
Thursday. This comes out Wednesday. Arron, who can access this on Wednesday? Tell the people who can access this on Wednesday.
It must be the Patreon lads.
Must be the Patreons, exactly.
It must be the Patreon.
Well, everyone can be a Patreon right now. There's no excuse.
Exactly. Si, you're right. There is no excuse. Even Si's agreeing with us at this point. If you haven't signed up to Patreon,
although there is a catch-22 in that them listening to me say that it's already too late for them to have downloaded this week's episode early.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll get it on Wednesday though, surely. I don't know. Right. We'll clip that bit and put it out. Right. So basically, Si's right. There's no excuse not to sign up for Patreon at the minute. You get a 7-day free trial, a little try before you buy, Arron. Gives everyone a chance to see all the great stuff we've got over on Patreon.
Exactly, yes. And the link is down in the description below. But in case you're not watching us on YouTube for some odd reason, then make sure you go to patreon.com/FM Show Pod.
The FM Show Pod.
The FM Show Pod. Almost got it. 2 weeks in a row I got it right as well. It just, 2 weeks too long.
2 weeks too long. And if you want to drop us an email, then of course you can do the same thing. Send us your thoughts, particularly around about FM25 or anything else you want to talk about. So maybe Size brought up some good points about challenges. Let us know some challenges you think might be good for FM25 going forward. The email address is thefmshowpod@gmail.com. Also, any would you rathers, any sort of football manager confessions we used to do, because got that.
Yes, yeah.
Tactics garages, anything you want to talk about, drop us an email. And more importantly, Maggio, it's your turn to plug your stuff. Where can people find you if they're big fans of what you've done today and want to listen to more of your content?
Sure. Maggio on everything, I think. So if you like the football shirt stuff, Maggio football shirts. Oh, we have a show, Tony, don't we? The Football Shirt Social as well.
About to say.
He's the man of a million podcasts.
Called the Football Shirt Social, yeah.
We've just put out a live episode, which was really fun to make. I got to say, we've got 3 banging shirts on the show today, but Aaron's, I really like that one. That's he's gone for the it's the Bruce Banana inspired one, isn't it? It's the
this is little bit of a story with this one. So they announced it, but there was one site for some odd reason had it on sale, and I was a bit skeptical because it was cheap as well, like than it should have been. So I bought it, and as soon as I bought it, it was no longer on the website. So I was like, "Oh, I've just been." But it came. Apparently, obviously, there's a mistake, and it happens every year where there's just this one retailer that tends to just release shirts before the actual club has. So yeah, I was like wearing this shirt before anyone
probably
even had it.
A pricing mistake as well. I love it.
Yeah, pricing
are in your favour.
Well, yeah.
I've got many free items off Amazon over the years from that. Oh, why is this accidentally showing as free?
Oh, the glitches are amazing, aren't they?
I love them. Screw. Everyone's like, oh, someone's job. Amazon, come on. Jeff Bezos is like,
oh, you can get a shark hoover for 3 pence, can you? Oh, not anymore. They've fixed it. Oh, damn.
So yeah, Football Shirt Social. Come watch the live episode. We went to the Retro Football Fair, me and Tony, and we bought lots of football shirts, including the one Tony is wearing.
I did. I trapped myself in a couple of extra ones as well. We gave ourselves a little challenge, and go and find that over on YouTube. And of course, do go and follow Si, who's making a load of great content. And of course, keep up to date with the Euros and see what challenge he comes up with, because I think that's a really cool idea, actually, to be honest. I think this has been a fantastic show. Hope you enjoyed it. As you know, you can, of course, follow us on the FM Show Pod on all of our social media. That's it. If you enjoyed it, let us know. Leave a like on the video, comments all over the place. And more importantly, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and we will see you all next week. All the best. Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/thefmshowpod. Don't forget to rate and review, and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.